A country's standard of living depends on its ability to produce goods and services. Differences in living standards around the world are dramatic. In 1998, the average American had a yearly income of $31,500. In Mexico, the average yearly income was $8,300. And in India, the figure was just above $1,700 a year. Not surprisingly, these differences in income are reflected in the various measures of quality of life. Americans have more cars, better nutrition, and longer life expectancies than citizens in a country like India. What explains these large differences in living standards among nations?
If we compare sort of the rich countries and the poor countries, the difference that explains it is productivity. That is, the rich countries have workers that are very productive. They can produce a lot of goods and services for every hour of work, whereas poor countries have workers that are less productive. That is, they produce fewer goods and services for every hour of work. Now that raises the question, of course, of what explains those differences in productivity. And of course there are many different explanations for that. It includes things like accumulation of capital, it includes the skills of the workforce, it includes the openness of the economy. There are a lot of explanations for productivity, but whenever you want to explain differences between rich and poor countries, productivity is the key.
The relationship between productivity and living standards is a challenge to government policies. Since rising productivity is critical to economic well-being, how can government provide the best support?
One way in which the government can stimulate rapid growth in productivity is through a better educated workforce. And indeed, one of the reasons the government often cares about education policy is because of its impact on the skills of the workforce, which in turn influences the productivity of workers down the line.
Typically, the U.S., Western Europe, and Japan are states that are very economically free, that they've encouraged development, that they've encouraged entrepreneurship, that they've encouraged technological advantages with relatively low levels of government involvement in the economy. In the U.S., the government is really involved in about 1/5 of the economy. In states that are less well developed, you find the government is really the dominant buyer, the dominant actor in the economy. And we've seen the problems with planned economies and those economies that don't have economic freedom, their productivity is really suppressed. In the U.S., we do everything we can, hopefully, to promote productivity by promoting economic freedom and liberty.
In the United States, we are becoming a wealthier society not because we're mining more from mine shafts, not because we're smelting more, not because we're vulcanizing more. We're becoming wealthier because of our brains, because of the software algorithms, because of the formulae that pharmaceutical scientists come up with, because of the software, because of the entertainment products that George Lucas and Steven Spielberg create. So it's the creativity, the patents, the research and development that create the ability to become wealthier. Other countries may be just as smart, maybe have more geniuses. The genius, though, of the U.S. economy and of democratic capitalist economies is that they take brain power and they figure out how to channel it into a free market, and consumers in the end benefit from this.